It is Supriya Sharma. Hello, Supriya. Can you hear us?
Hi, Risto. Here
Hi.
I am. And
Hi.
hello, everyone.
You are in India today, right?
Yeah, presently I'm in India.
Okay, great. So we will start from Asia initially. Supriya is a very interesting person. She is an author of 8 books. She is also a customer experience strategist, and her business developments vary between Asia, Africa, and the European Union. So it is really interesting what you will share today with us. I hope that your topic, which is shaping the cross-border e-commerce experience in post-COVID world, will be very interesting for all the attendees. So we are really looking forward to hear more from you. The stage is yours. Welcome.
Thank you, Risto. So I'll go ahead with sharing my screen. Okay, I hope it's visible.
Yes, it's perfectly fine. Thank you.
Okay, so let's go on. So as you mentioned, the topic I would be taking up is shaping the cross-border e-commerce in the post-COVID world. Where, I mean, COVID, you talk of COVID and everybody has 200 things to share on their experiences in terms of business and personal life. So let's dive into how e-commerce has been affected by COVID and how can we go on with our cross-border sales in the post-COVID world. So in the pre-COVID era, there was a study conducted by Visa, and they found that 90% of the e-commerce leaders, they said that they would be needing an international e-commerce presence for their company's success by 2024. And 2/3 of those who were not selling in the foreign markets, they wanted to launch an international sales effort. Out of all these people who were surveyed, only 1/3 were confident enough that they were prepared to bang on the international markets. Now, okay, everybody wants to sell in the international markets. We want to expand across all the territories. But why is it so that only 1/3 of the people were prepared? And that's what we are going to address today. I'm going to be sharing a strategy for all those of you who are planning to venture into international markets. It's going to be strategy followed by an actual action plan that you can implement in having to move over to international sales. And here are the 3 economic indicators that actually confirm Visa's predictions, because we agree that the economic spending is on the rise and there's an increased demand for foreign goods, and people now actually have more options to finance their purchases. You no longer need to pay the entire amount in one go. You can purchase now and pay later. So what else do you want? There are all the factors favoring us. There should be nothing stopping us from going ahead with the international sales, because there's a huge market, but it is underserved. So this was pre-COVID. And then we had our COVID-19, which was COVID-19 at the end of 2019, but actually it came up in 2020. And social distancing, contactless shopping, we were still having our e-commerce, which was growing, and it reached $2.4 trillion globally. So amidst all this, e-commerce still went up and it reached $2.4 trillion globally. And why was that so? Because major part of our existence, our schools, our work, our entertainment, our shopping, everything was going online. We moved online, all the 4.2 billion internet users of us, which is 54% of the total world population. That's what actually sustained online sales. So as you see in the graph on the right-hand side, the red line, it denotes the percentage change in the retail e-commerce sales worldwide. And the figures we have are from 2017 projected to 2023. And here we see that there has been a decline in the percentage change in retail e-commerce sales. Whereas if you look at the actual numbers, meaning the blue line, the percentage of total retail sales coming from e-commerce, it has plummeted. It is still increasing, and it is bound to increase in the coming years, where China continues to be number 1 with $100 billion of sales, even in 2020, followed by Canada and Russia. So we know that it is still existing in the COVID world and in the post-COVID world. So if you look at this entire basket of e-commerce, and then you take a particular element of the cross-border transactions, then you would find that we still had a growth of 24% in our cross-border transactions in 2020. Well, initially we had this deceleration because we were expecting more than 24%. The projections were way beyond this. So we had an initial deceleration with the disrupted the global supply chains and the operational capabilities worldwide. However, we were able to bounce back somewhat in the later part of 2020 when the economies opened back. I mean, they reopened. So we were able to maintain a share in e-commerce in terms of foreign transactions at 11%. If you have a look on the graph at the right-hand side, on the top, you see Latin America, which have maximum sales growth. So I would like to share here that we maintained 11% overall on an average worldwide. However, the fact is that there are certain countries whose foreign transactions amount for 60 to 70% on an average of their e-commerce transactions, while there are certain countries like the Dominican Republic in the Latin America and Costa Rica actually, who have this percentage as 90%, which actually accounts for Latin America having the largest sales growth percentage change for 2020 as per eMarketer. And it goes without saying that regardless of the COVID time and whatever the world has been suffering from, the e-commerce continues to grow in terms of special products like the beauty products, your electronics, your groceries, apparel, footwear. I mean, these are still the same things which were being sold pre-COVID, and these are the things which are still going to be sold in the post-COVID world. Going forward, we expect this growth to resume and to reach $500 billion globally by 2025. And I don't know if some of you are aware of this concept of live streaming e-commerce. I wasn't actually before a month, unless I came across an advertisement which used the retailers and these influencers who were live streaming the advertisement in terms of a product. They demonstrate a product and then they actually answer the questions that the potential buyers could have online in real time. So this live streaming e-commerce is again a popular trend pioneered in North America and Europe, of course, but China is again taking a lead in bringing this up. So what can we do? How can we go ahead? What does the action plan look like? You start by identifying your potential markets. What are the emerging markets that you think could be a fit for your products and your audience? Because it is a function of the kind of products you have and the special attributes or the features of your products. For example, if you're selling beer, we discussed beer from Aristo in the beginning. It's not the same beer that would go for the Asian market, and it's not the same beer that works for the European market. So your product, the product is beer. However, the features and the taste and what we look for in a beer varies because we have different customers in Asia and we have different customers in Europe. So we need to assess the culture, the climate, the competition in those particular markets. And those of us who are new to this realm of international sales, export.gov is an exceptional source that can guide you to discover these new markets, actually helping you to identify your potential buyers in foreign countries by examining your current trade patterns. So export.gov is one source that you could always look up to in terms of help to identify your potential markets. And then once you're done with that, you check for the product restrictions. And these product restrictions have to depend on the country from where the product is being exported. That is the first part of it. And then the country in which the product is going to be imported. That's the second part of it. So restrictions have to be checked on both the sides. And when you're checking this, make sure of the terminology, because there is a difference between the prohibited product, which means there is no sales allowed for this particular product, and product restrictions, meaning if you're selling a particular product in a particular country, there are certain criteria that needs to be met for you in order to sell your product in that country. So it is always safe and legal to identify and comply with the restrictions which are placed in the country you want to sell, in the foreign market that you're actually aiming to expand into. So before you start planning out very well, determine what you can and what you cannot sell in the country you are looking at. Special reference giving to your product here. And once you're done with that, we need to determine a pricing strategy for you. So consider those pricing elements such as the freight costs, your in-country distribution costs, sales commissions, insurance, and there are many more elements to this pricing basket, where special emphasis needs to be laid on the tax requirements, because tax requirements, they vary from country to country. And in some countries, you might as well realize that you might be wanting to expand into a particular international market, but because of the tax regulations in that international market, you might not be able to make the profits that you're looking at. So that trade-off needs to be very well analyzed and examined by you, because when you're setting this pricing, you need to consider the various factors such as the total cost incurred for you to be able to sell this product in the market that you want to sell into, the market demand that you have where you're going to sell, and then the price that your competitors are offering in that market. So there's a lot of homework that needs to be carried out in terms of pricing strategy, because ultimately, why are you wanting to expand to an international market? Of course, one reason is you want to have an international presence, but two, you don't want to have this international presence at the cost of your pocket. You still want to make some money, right? That's why we are into business. So determine your pricing strategy very well before you move forward. And the best idea when you're moving to a new territory is to partner with a third-party logistics service provider. So you can actually relax and focus on the strategic part of your business while they do all the logistical work which is involved. And when you're doing this, this also incorporates that your website should be capable of providing this information to the users. Users from country A wanting to buy your products in country B. Are you able to do that? Are you not able to do that? And all this will be determined by the third-party logistics service provider that you choose. Not only is it going to take the headache off your head, but it is going to save you a lot of time and effort as well. So this third-party shipper, this partner that you are looking for or you're looking at can actually can help you in finding accurate answers to the questions you have about taxes, tariffs, and import restrictions that we discussed in the few steps before. So it's always a good idea to involve this third party in order to help you with all kinds of things that you might face going to a new international border. And once you are ready, you need to outsource your support services, because we are assuming as a medium business, we are not looking at the international, those big multinationals. Okay, even they, when they go to a new country, they do all this. But looking at a medium business that we might have, we want to make sure that we are utilizing our resources in the most optimal manner. So having a customer support team that helps you meet the increased demand of your prospects is crucial. And as a medium business owner or as a medium business employee, your company might not be able to take care of the number of resources that are required in order to provide this support to the customers. And that's why it is the best idea to outsource, at least in the beginning, to reduce your overhead expenses. And you can then stay lean and focus on what actually matters. I mean, you understand how important the customer experience is. Imagine you calling up a call center and you speak English. However, the call center that you're calling at, they only speak French, and you two are not able to communicate. How do you expect a customer to then buy your product if there is a language barrier? This can actually be taken off by having a qualified support services team, which is very sensible. I mean, you would never go to a French-speaking seller if you don't understand French, unless you have a particular unique product which is not available in any other part of the world. I mean, language could be a real barrier. So I just gave this example to show you that the customers need to feel satisfied. They need to be made to feel important actually when they're coming to you, so they can actually buy from you and stay loyal to you. And so we need to take care of the customers first, because the business is all based on customers. And while we are doing this, a part of this also comes in terms of the user experience research that we are conducting. So we said we need to have our website, which should be able to provide all the information to our users. For example, you're buying a product, you're sitting in Europe and you're buying a product in United States. It should not be the case that the website that you're looking at shows the price of the products only in euros. They should be able to show the price in US dollars directly for you. Imagine the case of an airline ticket, right? If you're sitting in the United States, you're buying an airline ticket for Emirates, They don't show you the currency in AED, they show you for US dollars because you're sitting in the United States and you're going to be paying in dollars. So that is the kind of user experience that we are looking at. We want a frictionless experience for our users because they are the reason we are into business. If our users, if our customers are not satisfied, there is no way we can be moving forward. And the best thing is to conduct this user testing, the usability testing, as early on in the process as it's possible, because that way you stop wasting time and you can actually eliminate all those issues that would come up with navigation. A good example of this is Amazon. Amazon ventured into the Chinese market very silently in the early 2000s, and they competed in fierce competition with these APAC giants like the Alibabas. And finally, they could not sustain this competition. Why? Because they were not able to meet the demands of these Chinese users who wanted the user experience, the websites, the way they purchase in a particular fashion. Amazon wasn't ready for it. And they actually had to move out in 2019 after spending all these years and resources. So had they conducted this usability testing in time without silently wanting to enter the Chinese market and wanting to disrupt it, things might have been better. So it's always a good idea to be prepared in advance to avoid any surprises in future. And once you're done with the steps from number 1 to number 6, let's bring them all together, and together we create a repeatable rollout strategy. So why repeatable? So you save on effort every time you want to move on to a different country, because there are over 195 countries in the world. And I'm not saying you will be wanting to sell in all those 195 countries, but then, okay, even if you want to sell in 10 countries or 15 countries, we don't want to be spending the time and effort every time we move on to a country. Yes, the fundamentals will vary from country to country. I mean, the details would vary from country to country. The fundamentals, however, remain the same. So there are certain things that we discussed, like the strategy, the pricing strategy, the availability, finding your users in the foreign markets, complying with the local government laws, having a third-party logistics service provider, having a support team, all those things that we agreed on. If you have a template that you can actually fill in every time you're going to a different country, things are going to be really easy for you in expanding, and you won't have to spend that time and brain every time you move on to a different country. So this cross-border thing can be included in a repeatable rollout strategy that helps you every time you move on in your future expansions. So this is a 7-step direct implementation plan you can start implementing right now if you're wanting to move to international markets for selling your products and services. Although there is this whole thing about digital protectionism these days, which is an issue, but this is actually going to be sorted out in the post-COVID world, most probably. And this simple plan can be implemented very well. So if you have any questions for me, you're most welcome. And thank you for your time. And I'll be looking forward to your feedback and the knowledge you have so I can learn from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Supriya. It was really useful. I particularly like the 7th point, which summarizes and wraps it up. Really, without this infrastructure that you have described, we wouldn't be able to operate and run successfully a cross-border business. Of course, I forgot to mention that all the attendees that have some questions might ask them in the Q&A session. We already have 2 questions, and I will dive into them right away. So thank you very much for the summary. It was really useful and it was really a good start. And thank you also for keeping the 15 minutes threshold, which is very important today. So back to the questions. We have 2 questions. The 3 questions, okay, 2 questions and 1 comment. The first one is from Vanya, and I think it is a rather philosophical question because she's asking, how would you best describe today's digital world? And I assume that it also involves e-commerce cross-border, which is the primary topic of this track. The second question is from Raul, who is asking, is dropshipping a better idea? I would say, is dropshipping still a better idea? And there is a comment from Mangesh, next generation will be e-commerce. I think we pretty much agree on this all participants in the track. So, Supriya, what about the first question? What would be your best description of today's digital world? Probably in one short sentence, because we are really
Okay.
short in time.
Risto, would you mind if I go bottom up?
Yes, of course, of course. Take your time.
Okay. So we had a comment from Mangesh which said the next generation will be e-commerce. So I would say the present generation is e-commerce. The next generation is going to be live stream e-commerce, as we talked about briefly during the session. So in present, we are in e-commerce, and next generation is going to be something totally different and more advanced. Moving to number 2 from Rahul, who asked, is dropshipping a better idea? Well, it can and it cannot be. It totally depends on your geographical location and the product that you're referring to right now. So if you have a specific product in mind, we would be able to answer this question better. And moving to the first question now from Vanya, who asked, how would you best describe today's digital world? If you want to compare it with the time when the internet revolution had just started, like 20 years back, and comparing now, it's a huge difference, and we are expecting to be the coming years to be extremely revolutionary as well. So we don't want to get outdated. We want to stay updated, and we want to still continue in the world we are in. So today's digital world is a part and parcel of our lives. Anything that you do, any geographical location you are from, whatever profession you are into, there is nothing you can be doing without being a part of this digital world. So I say it does not exist outside you, it exists within you. So I'm answering it from, again, a philosophical point of view, if you get that. However, if you still have something specific in terms of that, if you want me to answer, please go ahead and ask, and I'll be happy to assist you with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Supriya. There is one comment from Raul. In terms of electronics and gadgets category, is dropshipping better? This is the question, the clarification of the question that he is.
Okay, thanks, Rahul, for clarifying. In terms of my personal opinion, it isn't.
It isn't. Okay, thank you for the insights that you have shared with us, and it was really a pleasure to meet you, Supriya. Thank you once again, and send our best regards to whole India and all the people there.
Thank you.
Next in the agenda is Keegan. He's also a very interesting entrepreneur. Keegan, nice to hear you and to see you. As I understood, you are in Singapore right now.
Yeah.
So you are, how to say, very experienced e-commerce entrepreneur. From what I understood from the presentation that I got up front, you are also involved in different channels, in different product categories. So I would like to know a bit more about your topic, which is how to set up your e-commerce store in Southeast Asia, the world's 5th biggest market. So the stage is yours, and I hope that we will get the same valuable content as we did from Supriya.
Okay, thank you so much. Keegan. Yeah, can everyone hear me? Is the sound okay? Okay, great. So basically, Asia is quite big and it's quite diverse, and compared to Europe, there is even more diversity and intensity. So our normal pace is would be quite stressful, I guess, to some Europeans. So I think that's the key difference, just to start off, to preface everything. Okay, so a bit of background about my business. I'm a sports retailer, so we sell sports stuff. Specifically, we maintain 4 big categories: apparel, equipment, supplements, sports supplements, and elder care and home care. So that includes like things that you need to be healthy when you're taking care of your parent or your loved one, your elderly loved one. Yeah. So we sell in different channels. We have our own website, and we have marketplaces that we sell in. So because in Singapore specifically, there are many marketplaces and many choices, but they cater to a different audience. And also we have a small fleet of vending machines that we sell our products through. So it's online to offline, and then offline to online again. So I think that's probably going to be the future. Okay, so pertaining to my topic, today we'll be talking about how you can set up your e-commerce business in Asia, Southeast Asia, but starting with Singapore. Usually Singapore is a good starting point because English is our first language, and because of the diversity of our population, we have our second language is like Mandarin. So like I can speak Chinese and English. So if you're going to access, say maybe Taiwan or China or any Chinese speaking country, it will be easier for business relations and coordination. And to that end, we also have Indians, Malays, and like we have like all the races in Singapore. And also the good thing about Singapore is that because of our central location, if you fly like 8 hours if you just fly 8 hours, you could be in Australia, Tokyo, Taiwan, India, Japan. Like it's just very convenient. And in a COVID-19 world, it's important to note that there are restrictions of movement. I mean, as we all know, but Singapore maintains a international connection posture. So like, for example, if you're going to the UK from Singapore, you don't have to quarantine currently. And because of our good relations and our connections, it's easier to move when you're in Singapore, when you're based in Singapore. Yeah. So, okay. So basically, first of before you set up a store, you should know that if you're going to set up a business in Singapore, you need a local shareholding. So, I mean, of course, you can be a totally foreign-owned entity. It's just that there are several restrictions that you will find quite annoying as you grow in size. So, once you've set up a company, you then should probably go after the different marketplaces. So the biggest marketplace, the biggest two is Lazada and Shopee. So Lazada and Shopee both have apps and web applications. So you can access it on your mobile phone as an app or through your browser. But Shopee is more mobile centric. So they focus a lot on just the mobile UX. And then Lazada is more kind of connected to the Alibaba ecosystem. So they have like tech that's helpful to the seller, but not that doesn't really make much difference to the customer. Yeah. So those are the first two that you should really look at, Shopee and Lazada. Then after that, when you go down the line, it becomes more specific to the demographic that they're catering to. So we have another marketplace called Qoo10. It's like QOO10, and it's it's owned by Yahoo and partially by eBay and a Korean company. So if you list on this marketplace, it's very deal centric. So it's like buy one get one free, buy 10 get 3 free, that kind of thing. It's all like the people who go to Qoo10 are always looking for a good deal. So that's a good place to really have a lot of people try your products very quickly. Yeah, so I mean that's one strategy. And then we have Zalora, Zalora, which is a fashion-centric website. It's like more focused on shopping for clothes, but also they are growing their other like adjacent categories. Then after that, of course, there's Amazon, but Amazon is just kind of starting out in Singapore. So if you have an Amazon store, you can just port it over to your Singapore store. So that might be easier. So those are the big ones. Then after that, if your product category is in like groceries and stuff, you can start looking at going to the online channels of the current supermarkets or the pure online channels, which is Redmart, which is owned by Lazada, is the grocery arm of Lazada, and Shopee Mart, which is the grocery arm of Shopee. Yeah, so that's like going deeper as you build your channels. Then after which, once you've kind of built all your channels and you're selling, the idea is to like increase the volume as much as possible within Singapore. And so how you would do that is that you need to know that Singaporeans, and generally for most Asians, we're extremely price sensitive. So like even like 5 cents makes a difference. And also like the pace is very fast. And so that means because at the end of the day, the attention is limited. Like there's only so much attention in a particular market. And because there are a lot of like verticals and marketplaces, they are just fighting for the attention. So if you do understand that, and you have a good relationship with the marketplace, you are able to grab more of their attention so that you can transact more sales. Right. So yeah, so and the pace is very fast. So you have to make sure, you know, you have your like creatives ready for a banner, for a promotion, so on and so forth. So those are things that you need to take note of. Yeah. And then as you grow, Asia is also different from Europe because there's a lot of competition, and then that sometimes leads to scams. So there will be bad actors in the marketplace that might affect the reputation of your company, because they will like copy your listing and then they say that they are you, and then a customer will might have a bad experience, and then that affects you. So like in Europe, that's not so much an issue, but in Asia, that's an issue. Yeah, so I think the three main ways that you can set up your business in Southeast Asia is to do it yourself. So that means you come here, you open a company, you do it all yourself, you have a presence, you ship the stock in. The second way is to find a local distributor that knows everything, that has already done it, that can just kind of like take your stock and then like sell it for you. And then the third way is to find somebody from your country that's already in the market that can do it for you. And in Singapore, that's possible. But as you expand in the region, like if you go to Malaysia or Indonesia, that option stops being so possible. Yeah, so those are the three ways. For each market, you will probably have to set up a company and do it, because unlike like the EU, even though we are landlocked, and even though the countries are like kind of squished together, but there is substantial restrictions when you move stuff through borders, manpower, taxes, and all that stuff. So the good news is that if you start off in Singapore, there are people that will kind of help you expand. And then the better news is that most of the marketplace headquarters are in Singapore. So expanding through Singapore is no issue. Yeah, so I think that's just the gist of it. If you have any questions, you can let me know.
Thank you very much. It was really interesting. So you mentioned that you need a local shareholder, if I understood correctly, right? Yeah. So in order to open a company, you should find a local person who will be kind of a warranty of your business in Singapore.
Yes. So basically, the local shareholding is useful if you're going to access like government grants, like assistance. The local shareholder will give a track record and a point of reference that will assist the growth of the business, but it's not like totally compulsory. You can be completely 100% foreign owned. It's just that down the line you'll have a lot of issues.
I think that United Arab Emirates are trying to switch from local shareholder requirement to a more open market, but so far nobody, at least nobody I know, is fully aware of how this works. But thank you very much, Keegan. There is something really important that you have mentioned at the very beginning about the geographical location and so on. I think Napoleon once said that in history, usually geography wins. So I think that pretty much it applies also to e-commerce because of all the restrictions and issues with transporting goods, especially when we talk about cross-border markets. A part of Singapore, which is obviously a very attractive market, you have also mentioned several other markets that could be a starting point. What, in your opinion, which one is the toughest market in the region?
I think all of them have their unique challenges. I don't think there's any market that's tough. It's just that when you enter into a new market, you have to understand that they are hyper-local. So for example, in Indonesia, it's broken into like 3 big parts. Like, I mean, the country they concentrate in 3 big areas. So a lot of if I was to go to Indonesia, I would start with Jakarta because that's kind of their capital city and there's a lot of like consumption power there. Yeah. But then you have because they speak Bahasa Indonesia, which is like Malay, but with like Indonesian stuff. So because of that, like you would need somebody who speaks that language and is very familiar with their cultural flows, because you don't want to go into a market and then say the wrong thing because you don't understand how they're perceiving your message. So that's true in every single market. So like if you go to Vietnam, Vietnamese, but Myanmar, Burmese, that kind of thing. So it's hyper local, and that's a bit different from like say the EU because it's so mixed, right? You just need to speak English or like French, and then you have a whole section. Yeah. So but in Southeast Asia, the diversity and the borders will be your biggest difficulty.
Challenge. I think this pretty much summarizes the question of Georgi that we have, which is about the local characteristic of Asian market. So you managed to describe them shortly in a very, very nice way. So thank you about this. We have another question from Alexandra that is, what are the main e-commerce trends related to the Asian market? I guess this is more about categories. I guess so, or probably if you have some numbers to share with us about general e-commerce statistics and trends.
Yeah, I didn't prepare any numbers, but anecdotally, I think I would say that because of COVID and because of the economic ramifications that it has, a lot of consumers are spending as a per need basis. So like if they need it, they'll buy it. And they are more keen on buying for value. So if you have like a product that you can bundle and offer them a discount, and if they see value in that particular bundle, they are more interested in the bundle than they would, in buying the 2 things individually.
Separately.
So I do see that is a very useful trend moving forward, because then you can start bundling things and like kind of like setting it to a challenge. So you can be like 30-day weight loss, or like get more active at your desk kind of bundles, and then that feeds into the marketing and the programming that helps the e-commerce. And along the way, if it builds into a habit, then it's like a good revenue base for the seller. Yeah.
I see. Okay. And we also have another question from Harsh. What do you suggest to start with, a marketplace or with a self-hosted platform?
I think the marketplace is the easiest because they do the marketing for you. The people are already shopping there, so you have a ready pool of buyers. You can also look at your competitors. So the marketplace is definitely something that I would recommend you start off with. But in the long run, because the marketplace charges commissions and other costs, so in the long run, you would need to organize your business so that you benefit more. And usually, that's when you have your own site. Yeah.
Especially if you want to protect your brands.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you very much, Keegan. It was really useful, and I think so far we had really, really nice content for the attendees of this track. Let's go on with Josie. Hello, Josie. You are in Portugal, from what I know.
Yes.
How is the weather in Portugal? Now we are moving to Europe.
Oh, welcome here in Portugal. It's a sunny day today.
Yes, great.
And we are living our 2nd week without lockdown. So we are very happy.
Lucky you. So you are an advisor and consultant of blockchain in Portugal, and you are quite a vast experience in the corporate world as a marketing and finance director for several companies. And you are also in the academic advisory board at the International Association of Trusted Blockchain Applications. That opens a very new and interesting topic that for some of our attendees could be a bit blurry, could be a bit uncertain. So I hope that we can elaborate on this and throw a bit more light on the topic. Your topic for today is the blockchain, a strategic solution for cross-border e-commerce markets. So the stage is yours. Welcome.
Thank you, Justin. Let's go to share my screen. Sorry, just a little bit. Okay, it's better. Just 1 minute more.
Take your time.
It's better like this, almost there.
Yep.
And here we are.
Yes.
Thank you.
Up and running.
So it's better like this. Oh, just a moment. Okay, so thank you for the introduction. And I'll be talking about blockchain as a strategic solution for cross-border e-commerce markets. First of all, I want to take this opportunity to thank you, Digital4, for inviting me to participate in this event. So all over the world and here in Europe. So during the next 15 minutes, I will be approaching the following topics: blockchain, cross-border e-commerce markets, new normal for everybody, blockchain and strategic solutions, and which kind of challenge we are having now. So, and jumping, so what is blockchain? Blockchain is a versatile and programmable platform that is collaborative, transparent, and unchangeable, and allow, through a verification system, the proof of the authenticity of each transaction. Sounds good. The benefits, which kind of benefits of blockchain are already spreading across various sectors of economy. The value derived through blockchain application is compelling. Initially, it is unlikely that the entire market, commodity, or deal life cycle will become blockchain enabled all at once. We will likely see pilot programs with a select group of market participants centered on specific functional applications such as payments or smart contracts. We can also observe that additional potential benefits of blockchain can include increases of speed of exchange, which minimizes transaction backlog and overall costs, improve availability and reliability of data, and improves auditability as records are verified in near real time, and can be used to convey title of physical commodity seamlessly between market participants. So now let's talk about cross-border e-commerce markets. That's our objective here. According to e-commerce platforms, and thank you for our dear panelists before, cross-border e-commerce can refer to online trade between a business, retail or brand, and a consumer, B2C, between two business, often brands or wholesalers, B2B, or between private consumers as in Amazon and eBay, that we have C2C. So now let's discuss what is this new normal. As we all know, COVID brought a health crisis, which then led to an economic crisis. I am an economist, so always prepared to answer this kind of questions. So this can illustrate that how global risks are interdependent. In face of this, we can observe in this World Economic Forum graphic the top 10 most worrisome risks for companies. And as you can see, one of The top 10 risks is the worry of tighter restrictions on the cross-border movement of people and goods. Forbes mentions that according to the cross-border e-commerce enable global cross-border commerces, as our dear Supriya told us before, grew 21% in 2020 compared to 2019. While payments processed worldwide for the last year, 55% of online shoppers made a cross-border purchase. From luxuries to everyday basics, consumers are increasingly buying online and from abroad, for merchants and payments processors alike. This has increased the need for seamless, reliable systems to support cross-border payments. As stated, when it comes to cross-border commerce solutions, there is no one size fits all. Different companies have entirely different solutions for different countries, of course, and markets. And this is where blockchain comes in. So, blockchain's business models are peer-to-peer networks based in decentralized transactions that use cryptocurrencies or tokens to make profit. So on this graphic by Engineering Web, we can analyze 4 main areas of application of blockchain technology and their respective business models. These are digital currencies, everybody knows, and fraud reduction, record keeping, securities, and smart contracts. In digital currencies and fraud reductions, the uses are e-commerces, global payments, remittance, P2P lending, and microfinance. The next quadrant, the orange one, has grown a lot with the pandemic. This axis shows 5 main applications: loyalty programs, supply chain, ownership, proof of identity, and intellectual property. Securities counts 5 main applications: equity, private markets, debt, crowdfunding, and derivatives. The last area is smart contracts that has 3 axes: digital rights, gambling, and escrow. In this graph, I know that it's just a little bit pedagogically speaking, but we can use in cross-border everywhere. So we can see the green quadrant grew thanks to the business opportunity due to the lockdown. The orange area, especially in supply chain, was a consequence of the contraction in mobility, but one that did generate many opportunities. The green quadrant is one of the identify the sequential of all business opportunity as the architecture of the new financial systems. From the green area, we can see that escrow is the one that most quickly developed due to the ease of the application in medium and long-term contracts. So how can you use blockchain solutions for e-commerce? Has seen exponential growth with this pandemic. So we have every time we have both sides, good sides and bad sides. So we can profit with good opportunities. However, we can still see some challenges that need to be overcome for the successful and effectiveness for the implementation of blockchain, and our operational efficient blockchain decentralized model can help regulated and streamlined workflows with intermediaries such as logistics and payment partners. Transparency. In our case, it's fantastic. As every transaction is recorded in a shared ledger, it cannot be modified. Such a high security and radical visibility improves transaction processing speed and ensures traceability. Cost effectiveness. three axes, that by removing middlemen and intermediaries from the payment process, blockchain eliminates transactions and processing fees, allowing retailers to achieve cost effectiveness. And finally, last but not least, data security. Since a single data breach can cost an e-commerce retail millions in revenue and a lot of more in brand authority, blockchain offers a level of security that retailers cannot afford to do without. Use cases. It's the most important thing. So it's someone is doing this. So now let's talk about some use cases that are and can utilize blockchain in cross-border e-commerce. These are inventory. By using blockchain into stock control, retailers can diminish items from stock and can likewise arrange substitute inventory, pre-characterized thresholds are met. Digital ownership, this was the one very, very important too. With blockchain, retailers can have total ownership for digital assets, including digital storefronts, photographs, videos, recordings, and even reviews. This ownership will be recorded on blockchain and will be completely transparent all the time. The other one is loyalty reward programs. As we know, since beginning, if you are a client from this hotel, you are a loyalty program, but now it's completely different. By safely attaining buying history and inclinations on the blockchain, customized offers and the loyalty programs be totally computerized. Identity management, it's another use case for e-commerce with blockchain that's very interesting too. By shielding individual identities from theft and abuse, blockchain can help retailers assemble strong authentication mechanisms and encrypted digital identities for improved identity management. And another one that is well known, it's in blockchain. By utilizing blockchain to follow the store network, e-commerce organizations can guarantee that merchants sticks to measure that has been set up, don't substitute items without notice, guaranteeing the transparency is kept up all through the interaction. And the last that we can define here, because we don't have enough time, it's warranty management. With blockchain, easily and efficiently store warranty information. Manufacturers, retailers, and clients will be able to access the data, allowing warranty information to be easily accessed and validated. Personally, I know use cases from warranty management that they are great. So payments. We can talk about payments. We are talking about cross-border and blockchain. Nevertheless, it's important to mention that some challenges for doing cross-border payments with blockchain included privacy and correlations, blockchain-based identities, key management, transactions and fees, optimal models for distributions of resources, specific purpose settlement networks, legal frameworks, and the regulatory policies, content step. This is the pain point. Today we are 7th of May, and when we are all companies already organized and planned the year of 2021 and possibly 2022 with the lockdown. Each constraint felt in the market because of the pandemic cannot be transformed, can, of course, and need to be transformed into opportunities by employing and implementing blockchain. Nevertheless, before using blockchain as a strategic tool, it is necessary companies evaluate the costs and the benefits. Market change regarding the way of living, interacting, and deciding to purchase goods and services has definitely changed. There is no way to go back. So to finish this presentation, I would like to share a quote from Stephen Hawking that says that intelligence is the ability to adapt to change. It was a truly honor to speak before you. My contacts are on the screen. Please feel free to reach it out, and I would love to hear your questions, thoughts, comments on blockchain as a strategic tool for cross-border e-commerce and market. Thank you.
Thank you, Josie. It was really interesting. I am sure that your presentation will be the reason of many questions that we will face. We already have several questions written by our attendees. Let's start with the first one. First in, first out. We will follow this criteria. Radko is asking, in your opinion, why is it essential to implement blockchain technology in a supply chain?
Oh, who is asking? Sorry, the name of the person.
Radko Todev is asking, one of our attendees.
Okay, Radko, thank you for the opportunity to answer. It's not essential, can be easy and can be transparent. And for example, I've worked with a company in the United States that recreated the supply chain market using, since the connections with the drivers, since the clients, mainly in this moment, we have a lot of questions with traffic. So now, when I started my thesis, because I was the first to hold a blockchain PhD here in Portugal, it's funny because it's so easy, but it's so funny. When we are studying business model, we are just talking about, as I can say, research models. But now with the pandemic, we can see if it works or if it starts works. So yes, it's not essential, but it can be easy and you can prove. When you have lockdown, for example, in Italy, and we are open in Portugal, how can I prove that Amazon will find me in my home to deliver my products? So it's just a tool that can be able, as I showed before, all the benefits, traceability, auditability, and less costs because we don't have middlemen. And I can share my personal experience why I studied blockchain. I was in South America in 2015 and I was working with escrow contracts, and we are selling things very, very expensive, like helicopters and Rolls-Royce and Ferraris. So it's a huge value. We are talking about 7 million. So it's mandatory to have escrow contracts to prepare our transaction and to guarantee our transaction. I was thinking about how blockchain can be used in this moment, and I can retire my middleman, for example, a bank. So and only 5 years after, we can say that it's possible in 2020 that started with smart contracts, and we have now normally, and because of this we have DeFi, decentralized finance. So it's not essential, but can be easy. But one advice that I can share with you, thank you for your question again, blockchain will not save the world, but can be easier. It's that you need, sure that you need a consultant or someone that can share with you use cases as I did now. And I'm sure that we have a lot of partners that can do the same with you, with your business, trying to promote how a strategic tool can implement, mainly in these moments, with a lot of change. Thank you for your question.
Thank you. We have another one. It is from Alexandra, and she is asking, what are the main challenges related to data processing when it comes to blockchain?
Wow, legislation, regulation, because when we're talking about cross-border, for example, Keegan is in Asia, Susan is in London, you are in Bulgaria, so we are talking about the different markets. So it's one of the challenges I always talk, because I'm an economist, so I always talk that it's very important to have a lawyer with you. And now in Europe, we started with regulations. So we have MiCA and we have United States also. But as you know, in United States, each department has a niche.
Different, yeah.
So first of all, to be sure that you can do business and how you can do business, and if you have, of course, tokenization inside your structure, you need to see how you can improve your traditional accountability and your digital one. So everything is changing, but we have so many opportunities. For me personally, is the biggest challenge. And for this, and after this, it's very important, if you are the CEO of your company, to have the mindset that you need to create your team to adapt a new mindset, how you can see blockchain. Not that I'm losing my power, but I'm spreading all the responsibility, and everything will be clear, easy, and transparent. So it is this my personally speaking.
Okay, thank you very much.
For the question.
We have another one. How can blockchain be considered an advantage for international trade and e-commerce cross borders? I think you partially answered this question, but let's elaborate a bit more on it.
Okay, with pleasure. And what is the name of the person that asked?
It is from an anonymous attendee. I cannot say it is not.
Okay, no problem. So I would say that blockchain can be an advantage for international trade and e-commerce cross borders, given its own characteristics. So blockchain provides securities, is decentralized and collaborative. Additionally, it also allows for immutability, so anti-bribery, efficient, transparency, traceability, auditability, and also, as I mentioned before, a benefit is operational efficiency. Blockchain's decentralized model can help regulate the streamline workflows with intermediaries such as logistic and payment processing partners. I just shared with you my personal how and why I studied blockchain as a PhD thesis. So additionally, for e-commerce cross-border, a very practical application is in supply chain, as I told you before, because utilizing this kind of tool to follow the store network, e-commerce organizations can guarantee that merchants stick to measures that has been set up and don't substitute items without notice, guaranteeing that transparency is kept up all through the interaction, all through the process. I believe that I answered. Thank you for the questions and all the interest, and feel free to contact the Digital4 Foundation now with the edition here in Europe to answer all our questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Josie. We have also other questions, but I am afraid we don't have too much time for them. I will just ask the people. Yes, I will just ask the people like Vibe Hub and other attendees that have sent me their questions. I will just ask them to refer back to you to send them over email so that you can continue the dialogue about it. It was really an interesting topic, and I was sure that it will sparkle a lot of questions.
And first of all, and the last observation is everybody can makes money with blockchain.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Josie. It was really a pleasure to have you with us. So let's move to Susan. Hello, Susan. Can you hear us?
Hello, I can hear you.
Nice to see you and to hear you. From what I know, you are in London, am I right?
That's correct. Yes. We're in London.
Okay,
Yes.
excellent. So I have so many things to tell about you that I wonder where to start from, honestly speaking. But let's see. Nominee Rising Stars 2021, FCA Tech Sprint Collaborator, Shortlist Tech Woman 100 Awards 2020, founder at Jubix, strategic, innovative, fintech, accessibility, so many things. I'm already lost, completely lost. But that's why I'm really sure that you will contribute a lot to the overall value of the track that we have today. It is really a pleasure to have you here with your topic, which is why cross-border investments will lead the e-commerce innovation market. I cannot wait to hear more. So the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Histro. Thank you for that fantastic introduction. And obviously, thank you for my fellow panelists earlier for their formidable contributions. I hope I can also do justice to this track. Also, I would just obviously like to give you a bit more insight in regards to Jubix, the proposition. So my company is called Jubix, and we are basically producing an innovative fintech solution that will aid as a financial intermediary to connect startups and social projects to the relevant cross-border expertise and relevant investment. We do this in a two-sided marketplace, and it's facilitated on the blockchain using AI and machine learning to obviously analyze the data and make the system very robust in terms of connectivity. So actually, Justina, that's just left, she's one of our advisory members and consultants, and it's really good for her to be on board at this time. So yes, I'll be talking about why cross-border investments will lead the e-commerce innovation market. And I really want to emphasize on investments and innovation, because these are two critical areas where cross-border payments will actually be able to enhance the value proposition of businesses going forward. So according to the Bank of England, the importance of cross-border payments has increased internationally in regards to the mobility of goods and services and capital and people, which has further contributed to a vast growth in emerging economics. The value of cross-border payments is estimated to increase almost by 150 trillion from 2017 to over 250 trillion in 2027, which equates to a rising value of over 100 trillion in just 10 years. So if you can imagine post-COVID, and obviously the move to digital age, how this could actually transcend over the next couple of years. So today, digital payments are made at rapid speed because products are designed to simplify, enhance the user experience with added dynamic functionality. Transparency is a secondary feature that is integrated to provide security, an innovative solution in early beta stages post-launch of the product. So as we go further, we talk about without enough connective possibilities, one is left to scroll the internet links and platforms that are admin intensive and value is not visible from the outset. So in terms of obviously financial payments and solutions, we need to make sure that there is some kind of transparency for the beginning of the supply chain up until the end of the supply chain. I think Justina touched on that with the blockchain infrastructure and how that could help. Factors that have been intensifying over recent years include manufacturers expanding their supply chains across borders, cross-border asset management and global investment flows, international trade and e-commerce, migrants sending money via international remittances. These trends have increased in demand for cross-border payments and the need for end users to have access to cross-border payment services that are efficient and safe as comparable to domestic services. So the key word there is access. Accessibility is becoming a very big factor in terms of the amount of people that are unbanked, as well as actually making sure that functionality within these products are easy to use and easy to process. Remittances in particular play a vital role in low and middle income economies, and in some cases are becoming the primary source of development finance, in particular microfinancing. Growth and revenue expansion is also driving competitive interest in the market. Innovative new business models and participants are emerging in response. However, cross-border investments are various regulatory requirements propose a threat and barrier to entry, opposed to the global advance in new frontiers who provide a hybrid solution for work using innovative technologies. With more global browsers becoming digital buyers, cross-border e-commerce is here to stay. Cross-border payments revenues are estimated to reach 1.9 billion by the end of 2020, as reported by McKinsey, while the events of 2020 seem to have reset the global payments landscape, as you can see from the COVID that's happened. Cross-border e-commerce is here to stay, and the change has been witnessed with a new digital currency, which Josina also touched on, Bitcoin, which has, is devoid of all barrier constraints and can obtain global transactional value. This, of course, proposes a threat on regulatory bodies because networks are beginning to become small armies for global change and equity harvesting. So if you can imagine, obviously, these networks that we're attached to, we attach ourselves because of the value or the interest that we see within that network. And these networks are actually becoming, the new governors of tomorrow. And if we see this rise continuously happening over the next decade, we would actually see small countries in a digital sense. They harness new users very fast and quick, onboarding methods without advertising or customer acquisition costs. The sustainability and value that cross-border payments brings to the global 3 trillion startup innovative economy, growing at 20% yearly, is that new ideas can develop and scale with regulatory constraints that prevent entry to market. The sustainability and value that cross-border payments bring to the global 3 trillion market is that investors can globally create more finance opportunities to increase market share in emerging markets and liquidate investments faster and smoothly. Businesses need cash flow even when demand is being met to abstain operational expenditure. Ultimately, sustaining innovative products that emerge from cross-border investments now have to have a head start by moving to the cloud. We've seen it with Azure, Google Cloud, AWS, and Oracle. These cloud infrastructures are becoming more vast and heavily used. Ultimately, sustaining innovative products is very important in terms of providing a digital architecture that's governed solely by its stakeholders. The uptake in e-wallets, also known as digital wallets, is a software-based electronic APM that allows customers to pay for online or in-store transactions. Commonly available through apps for smart devices, e-wallets allow users to safely store their payments of choice so they can pay for goods and services. Popular e-wallets, as we know, include PayPal, Neteller, Skrill, Alipay, Apple Pay, and Google Pay. Some e-wallets allow consumers to operate in multiple currencies and some to place orders across borders. Although wallet-to-wallet transactions do not technically count as a cross-border payments, they do help to facilitate the transaction, and that is what is important here. It is not until the funds are withdrawn from the e-wallet and transferred to the merchant's bank account that the process can be classified as a cross-border payment. A new study also from Juniper Research showed that the total value of B2B cross-border payments will reach 35 trillion in 2022, growing by 30% compared to a low 27 trillion in 2020, mainly due to the effect of COVID-19. This is an area ripe for innovation and expansion, with the coming years looking to be an exciting time for international B2B payments, travel, and hospitality in particular are set to benefit from the projected simplification of cross-border payments. So, as I have given an overview of how cross-border payments will actually influence the innovation market, you can clearly see the outlays that could actually help to facilitate new innovation and new startups to actually become more scalable at a quicker rate. this is very important in terms of the innovation market today as we see it, because of the digital emergence of cloud infrastructure, technologies that are actually building digital currencies, and also just the connectivity factor. So now, going forward, as a business, we have to make sure that we grasp those complexities within an easy, free-flowing functionality of any application or solution that we are building. And that kind of gives you an overview of my topic today. I hope I've done it justice, Histro.
Thank you very much. It was really insightful and useful, I hope, for all the attendees of our track. Of course, we have several questions on the go. So let's first start with the question, which is, as traditional payments are becoming a thing of the past and seemingly blockchain the future, what are the key aspects that will sway others to move into this space?
So the key aspects is obviously ease of access. So the fact that blockchain gives you that inclusion factor as well as the anonymous factor. So the fact that you can go into, there's a lot of communities around the blockchain. So it gives you that kind of homely feel that people want you to come into this space, and also it also helps in terms of providing an architecture that can actually be built on. So, for example, there could be a basic architecture, and then you can now build a new, infrastructure from that architecture that's already been created.
Okay, and we have also another one. Do we really understand the complexity of these technologies and their integration? Because for many people, blockchains is really kind of a rocket science.
Yes, so I do still feel that, it's a very small market in terms of, the mass adoption. I think that the complexities are due to the understanding, to actually understand all of the elements of blockchain, you would need a thesis, you would need 3 years or so. So it's about making the understanding more simplified and making sure that when we are making blockchain solutions, that we don't put blockchain as the face of the product. We put the uses of the product instead of the actual back-end technology that aids the product. So I think that's a really important factor for a lot of blockchain startups and blockchain companies to consider if they want mass adoption of their new solutions.
Okay, we have also 3 other questions. 2 of them are more or less a reference to all the panelists. So I will leave them for the final of this track. We have also a question from Vibe Hub. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing the name correctly, but I hope that it will be an interesting question for most people. It is, in fact, there are 2 questions. I will try to wrap them up quickly. The first one is, I don't know, rather technical, because Vibe Hub is looking for a payment gateway offered by CoinDesk. I don't know if you can suggest something based on this.
Is this for me?
Yeah, this is for you, and okay. Probably for Josie. I am not familiar with this kind of CoinDesk stuff, so I'm afraid I cannot answer. So I think both of you are the appropriate people to refer to. And the second question, it is it a good time to build a website on .crypto? Whatever that means.
That was website on
what .crypto.
Okay.
There's the extension.
Justina might be more expert on those questions in particular. Justina?
Josie, okay. How about you?
You're mute.
Yes, you are muted, so please.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I was telling that Susan created Jubix, and we are working together in one huge project, Jubix. So please Please, the floor is yours, and try to explain how Jubix is working with the tokens. No, it's a very good opportunity, and I invited everybody to see Jubix.
Definitely, we will have a look after the presentation. It seems to be quite an interesting project, and there are two other questions. Let's put the question of Vibe Hub really for future reference, because I think it is more technical and it requires a bit more of explanation.
And I received from him a message in LinkedIn. I will answer after the panel.
Okay, excellent. Yes, it will take time.
So I will answer all the questions. Please connect with me in LinkedIn, and I will answer everybody. Okay?
Thank you, Josie. Thank you. So we have two more questions. The first one, I think they are a good reference for all the panelists today. The first one is, what do you think of the cultural peculiarities when it comes to cross-border e-commerce? And the second one, just in order to have them in one place, what is the best way to level up the customer experience? I think both questions are quite a good summary of what we have discussed today. So if some of you guys is willing to give a bit more details on this, it will be very interesting to know. And right after that, I will put on my presentation I have prepared for today, because it kind of wraps up the topics that we have discussed today. So is there some of you who is willing to answer?
I can take the cultural.
Yeah, Keegan, please go ahead.
So when it comes to cross-border, because you're selling from one country to another country, I think there are a lot of things that could go wrong or could go right. But one thing that definitely is interesting is something new and innovative, and is something trending on social media. So like, for example, they have this this stone that you can shape your jaw, right? So like the cultural peculiarities of beauty is that everybody wants to be beautiful, like everybody wants a good jawline. So even though they exist, as long as the product is innovative, it can be shipped to the customer quite affordably and in a good amount of time. And yeah, and it has value. Then the peculiarities are not so peculiar against you. Yeah.
So they can be a universal products.
Yeah, yeah.
Very good. Thank you very much. So, what is the best way to level up the consumer experience? This is the other question that we have in line. I think all of us and all of you can contribute a bit to the answer of this question, because it is really how to say a catch-all topic, which involves also customer experience and logistics. Why not? Because if people have to wait for a long time in order to get their products delivered, and also about on-site experience, user experience, I mean, within the website. So I guess there could be some
May I just
remarks.
want to find a side note? I'm not talking about blockchain now. I'm talking about a human being.
Yes.
So experience as a consumer is always to be grateful for our experience and how what I asked, it was delivered. I have someone that I can share my experience, and always the feedback. So I know that with fourth revolution, industrial revolution, we have AI, we have all this kind of robotic things and blockchain and all these buzzwords, but human being is always the same. So it's very important, because the pandemic moment, we have Keegan from Asia, we have Susan, we have Stanislava, we have everybody together. This is the good point. But we cannot forget that in each experience, human experience, you need to have these eyes and heart. So if you translate these kind of things in robotics, in AI, in blockchain, we can offer for our client the best experience. So it is a human being side note.
I fully agree. I will just remark a very nice concert I have attended long time ago. It was with Concha Buica. And she said something really remarkable. She said, we are very different people all around the world, but we, after all, we cry about the same things. We laugh about the same things. So at the end of the day, there are things that unite us. And this is what makes us people.
Perfect.
So thank you, Josie, for your, Susan, how about you?
Touch on that as well, and the actual question that you asked, and also highlighting what Josina said as well, is obviously in terms of the user experience, we have to think about functionality, accessibility, and ease of use. So if you can imagine, you're building a product for a mass market, not just a blockchain expert, not just for a technical savvy person. Even today, we're all on Zoom. It's because it's easy to use. We're all in different countries and we're still able to participate and interact. So definitely think about the end user when building a product. And secondly, I would say in terms of what Josina said about hearts and about eyes, we can actually embed that in our technology in terms of the ESG goals and the SDG goals. So if you think about the sustainability and obviously impact investing, this is becoming a big thing because of not just because we're helping the planet or helping people, but actually it has a lot of profits that can be seen in latter years. So if you think about building a product now, but in the future there could be considerable products, there could be considerable profits made. And also, it could actually help in terms of social benefit. So definitely have that in mind.
Thank you, Susan, a lot for your comment. So what is left now is to show you my presentation I have prepared for today. It is very short. I have prepared just a couple of slides because I wanted to share something that I found out all through the years, because as I mentioned, I am not only consulting companies, but I also have my own cross-border e-commerce businesses, and I think it is a matter of time until people who get involved in e-commerce realize that there is there is a reality check they have to face. Because in the last year especially, e-commerce was mentioned as something very romantic, something very, doomed to work. But in fact, behind the scenes, there are plenty of hard work, there are plenty of issues. And I think that it has never been easier to sell cross-border, but it doesn't mean that it is easy to do that, because of many things that people have to think about. But in terms of entrepreneurship, I think that ignorance is bliss, because if people who have started their e-commerce business knew what it is waiting for them ahead, they wouldn't start at all. But at some point, when they realized how difficult it is, it was already too late to withdraw. So I guess this is something that people who are about to start with their e-commerce activities have to consider. And I don't want to discourage them at all, but at least to help them a bit with things that they have to accept and to expect. So the first important topic, and I think many of the panelists already mentioned this, but I will not be tired of repeating it over and over again, is the market research. And Supriya already shared that it is so important to conduct a preliminary market research in order to know the local peculiarities of the market. I think I know best the region of Central and Eastern Europe, although our activities as company cover more markets within the European Union. But I would say that in Central and Eastern Europe alone, which is not a very, very huge market, it is, let's say, 120 million people altogether. But still, there are many different countries with many different behavior, many differences in behavior of people. And I would say that there is no similar behavior, I mean 100% similar behavior between customers in different countries. I think that, for example, Poland, which is one of the biggest markets in the region, or I think even the biggest one in terms of population, it is very encapsulated market, for example. People prefer local business. People prefer local customer service. People prefer local companies to handle the big activities. This is why they have a very strong local marketplace. This is why they have a very strong local retailers about fuel, about FMCG, etc. On the other side, countries like Bulgaria and Romania are quite open to the public and to foreign companies. Of course, this is particularly because of lack of resources locally, and people need to know more and to get new products and fresh ideas from around the world. On the other side, for example, Greece was very encapsulated, but at the same point, because of the fiscal restrictions there, more and more people were used to order from e-commerce companies abroad. So you see that in only 4 or 5 countries, there are very big differences in terms of behavior, and also Polish people and Romanian people are much more inclined to be to communicate with native speakers, with Polish people and with Romanian people. But of course, it is about strategy and how do you plan to expand to the other markets. And there is a second issue that everybody will face. Of course, if you start in English, that would be the easiest part. You can go in several markets, targeting only English-speaking companies, clients, not companies. And in this relation, you will not have to deal with plenty of translation and localization. But if you want to dive deeper into a market where the English is not the official language, you have to start translating and localizing. And in order to avoid the experience that Electrolux had when they localized their ad for the United States, you need to be very careful with who is doing the job. And you have to double check the meaning behind your brand name, behind your general website interface, behind your description of the products, because bad translation and bad localization can only lead to bad customer experience. And the joke is on your, so at your expense. So that's why it is important to know where people that are buying from you come from, and also to be careful with translation, because we had a case for a client, a Greek company that started to sell in other markets, where the translator translated the button ship order like order a ship. So I guess there is quite a good difference between both meanings. So you should really be very careful with what you say on your website. Of course, another important thing is payments. And you have to be aware of local currencies, because in the Central and Eastern Europe alone, out of, let's say, 12 markets, you have 9 different currencies or languages. You have different local strong payment providers. So based on your strategy, you should really think about how you will process payments, and whether it will be something that you have to deal with on a daily basis, or you will find and you will rely on a big international established company in order to process your payments, because this is really important as well and can become quite expensive at some point. So you should be aware of this. I will again give you an example with Central and Eastern Europe. In Hungary, they have Hungarian forints. In Bulgaria, we have Bulgarian lev. In Romania, Romanian leu. So there is a big difference between these currencies, and you should find the appropriate payment provider in order to process your payments. Of course, data compliance, personal data, and also use of this data for marketing purposes. This is quite important. You know about GDPR, but GDPR is not alone. In Russia, for example, they have their own alternative of GDPR, in other markets as well. So you should be very careful when it comes to compliance and when it comes to how do you use data in order to stimulate more orders on your website. And sometimes if you ignore this, and if you ignore the legal and the tax requirements, you will end up with a lot of issues with the local government. The good thing for Europe, for example, I think it is a really nice approach, is that the European Union is starting to introduce the so-called one-stop shop for reporting and paying VAT. Because from 1st of July, people who buy from companies that are not located in their own countries will pay the local VAT, and the companies will pay the equivalent of this VAT to the local government, but without having to register under VAT in each of the countries. They will just use the one-stop shop system, and they will pay in one place for many different markets the VAT which is due. So this is, I think, a good administrative approach, and I hope that soon we will get more examples like this, because European Union is quite a regulated market, so you should be very careful when it comes to compliance. And of course, transportation and logistics. Based on your strategy, you can have fulfillment, and your business, of course, you can have a fulfillment company in each market, or you can use one fulfillment warehouse and ship from there to different markets the products. In Europe, this is rather easy because goods can travel between the European Union relatively easy. Of course, it will take time, and you have to be sure that you have a good infrastructure in place in order to move around goods. But it is relatively easy, for example, for the Balkan Peninsula to rely on a single fulfillment operator, and everything will be shipped to your customers within 2 to 3 working days, which is good enough, especially when it comes to cross-border. So another approach would be for Europe, for example, to have one fulfillment location somewhere in Central Europe, and from there to cover all the continent and all the European Union. So you can easily have deliveries, last mile deliveries by a local courier, let's say within 4 to 5 working days maximum, which is still something good. Because many people are used to order something from, let's say, AliExpress or from Amazon US, so they are used to wait a bit more when they know that these goods will travel a bit. And returns management is also something interesting. People don't realize that when they start to sell cross-border, somebody has to take care of the returns. Depending on the category, the returns vary greatly, let's say between 5 or 10% up to 30 or 40%. We have a customer who is still successful with 50% return rate. but they have considered this in the P&L, so they are happy with the result. But you have to think about this because it can be very costly. Because if couriers are returning directly the parcel to you, that means that you have to pay for the way back. And that's why it is a good idea to have a local fulfillment partner, at least for processing your returns. Because otherwise, when you see the monthly bill, it would be a very unpleasant surprise for you. So you have to be careful and you have to consider this as well. Of course, marketing, you have plenty of options. We have plenty of channels. You have the local specific channels. As I mentioned, for example, Allegro in Poland, and in Romania, we have EMAG, which is very strong marketplace, also present in Bulgaria, also present in Hungary. So it depends. So the initial market research could do a very good job for you in order to identify where to start from, what should you do, where should you focus on. I personally believe that email is the best channel for every e-commerce business, because this is where you own your data. Otherwise, you rely on other platforms and other, how to say, channels to do the job for you, and you become dependent on them. But if you have the database with you, you can easily switch email marketing software provider, or you can play a lot with your data as long as it gives good results for you. And email marketing conversion rates in e-commerce, I think, cannot be beaten by any other channel. And of course, the customer service. Again, it greatly depends on your approach, on your strategy. If you are targeting English-speaking audience, then an English-speaking operator would be fine, because people will know what to expect. But you should have in mind that some countries are very, very sensitive towards this. I already mentioned Poland, but it is also valid for Romania. It is also valid for other markets where I had experience with. And these operators should be prepared to answer both emails, phone calls, chat messages, or any other form of communication. Some people in some places are still sending letters, especially when they want to complain about something. So you have to handle this properly. And if you go cross-border, you should really, I think, outsource these activities. But you shouldn't forget that outsourcing partners are partners. They are not somebody who has to do the job for you. They are your partners, and you should pay a lot of attention, and you should be hand to hand with them in order to do the proper job of servicing better your customers. Otherwise, if you leave them to do whatever they know with the argument that they know it better, it wouldn't work. A fulfillment operator or a call center that you rely on about customer service could be your best friend, but it can be also your worst nightmare if you don't put an eye on it. So it doesn't matter where you are in your e-commerce endeavor. I would suggest to think about these things. Of course, there are just few of the things that you should consider when you go cross-border, but it is good to have this in mind, and I hope that it will just prepare you a bit better in order to avoid unpleasant surprises. So these are my contacts here. If you want to come back to me at any point, I am at your disposal. You can also find me on LinkedIn to continue the communication afterwards. So thank you very much for the attention. I think we have some questions already. Okay. What qualities make someone successful as an e-commerce specialist? Oh, I think we should all try to answer this because we have different perspectives, different opinions about this. Personally, I think an e-commerce specialist, a broad e-commerce specialist, has to have attention to detail, because there are many things where many points where things can go wrong. And if you want to be how to say a full stack e-commerce specialist, you have to know quite well you have to prepare your homework quite well. And if you want to specialize in some sphere, well, this is quite easier. I would say that there are plenty of materials around internet where you can find some good practices, some reference point to start from. But you have a long way ahead, for sure. I wish I would say it is easy, but it is not, unfortunately. And you have to face this. But the good point is, as I started, it has never been easier, but it is still not that easy. So Keegan, maybe you can add something to it.
Yeah, so I think if you want to be an e-commerce specialist as a job, like you're working for someone, then I think it's very important to have experience and to be able to understand what you need to fix for your customer as you go along. Yeah, because if you're joining a company and let's say they're selling shoes, then like shoes are very different from like perfume. You know, the returns and everything is going to be different. So if you're going to be a specialist, you need to understand how to fix the problems quickly for your customer. But if you're doing it for yourself, like as a business, you need, I mean, I believe the characteristics that are important is that somebody has very little liabilities. So, you know, you didn't buy like a huge house that you have a loan for.
Pile of products, yes.
Yeah. That you have some cash reserve and you're generally quite resilient and positive because retail is up and down. It's not like a everyday you earn $7 an hour kind of thing. You know, the ups and downs. So you need to average out the gain and grow. And if you can do that and you can absorb some stress and exercise it whenever you can, you should be successful, I guess.
I can also add that willingness to test is also a very crucial element in e-commerce, because it is a very good ground for testing. You can test, you can check if something will work for you quite easily with relatively low budget. And sometimes you will be quite surprised by the result. You will see that things that you assume that will work quite well won't work that well. And on the other side, things that you will think are a pure disaster will be quite well accepted by customers. But this pure data that you can get from e-commerce, from testing, it will be a very, very important factor for your success. So I think we don't have more questions. So I would like to say a huge thank you for all our panelists and also for to the attendees. It was really a pleasure to have you all and to share your experience all across the world. So thank you also, Lubo, for the organization of this event. I think more and more people will need this in the future. And I hope that we contributed somehow to expand the knowledge and the excitement about e-commerce to our audience.
Thank you,
so
Christo.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Christo. Thank you all. You're doing great. The lecture was very interesting and inspiring. I think all the panelists they were more than perfect. And in the end of this session, I want to thank you for participating and to talk to you about after this panel. We have a video stream also in the website in ecom.digitalforeurope.com. So we have speakers from Hong Kong, Canada, Italy, and Bulgaria. Then we have short break, and then we have speakers from Singapore, Ukraine, and Bulgaria again, with some other advice. And after today, the next day, we have three key tracks. One is the e-commerce and omnichannel, and the second is supply chain fulfillment team and e-commerce startup for doing business with the starting companies. So thank you all. Thank you for participating. Thank you for supporting Digital for Foundation. And I want to thank the sponsor, Tendric, the Ultimate E-commerce Solutions, for bringing us the opportunity to be here. Thank you, everybody, and have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.